Okay, so Terraform is a leader in IAC. Okay, so HashiCorp is the company who developed Terraform, and the scripting language used by Terraform is not YAML or JSON. They have their own domain-specific language called as HCL. HCL stands for HashiCorp Configuration Language. So then we are going to use the Terraform to provide the resources, and the prerequisites is we need to install the Terraform, and on top of that we need to configure AWS CLI also. Then we need to like have the configuration files in the form of main.tf. Before that we need to create one directory also. On that we are going to install Terraform. Then the first command we need to use is Terraform init. So Terraform init will download all that provider details, all those is getting downloaded. And in that main.tf, we are going to specify which provider we are going to use. So then even that script we can validate. And if you have any alignment issues, we can do format also. We can use the format also we can use. So then we are going to perform like Terraform plan. So what is the difference between plan and apply? What is the difference between plan and apply? So plan will show the blueprint of whatever the resources are getting created. Okay, so whatever the resources we have, those all are getting created through the plan. And actually that apply will provision the resources. The apply is going to provision the resources. Okay, so in which command the state file is going to create? So with which command, with the Terraform init or plan or apply, with which command the state file is going to create?
Apply.
So with the apply, what is the name of the file? What is the name of the file? The name of the file is
Terraform.tf.
Terraform.tf state, where it's going to store in the local workspace where we have initialized the directory. That's workspace we are going to get it. Okay, so that's we are going to get that like a Terraform. Set Terraform like apply will provision in the local workspace. But what is the problem we have is like if the multiple people are working on that same Terraform, like we have multiple admins, DevOps guys, developers, then if they have the local state file, other changes we are not going to get. That is the reason in the real time we don't keep local state file. We are going to use remote backend. We are going to use. Okay, say in our scenario in AWS S3, we are going to create that, say in the AWS S3, we are going to keep that bucket. Okay, so that's we are going to manage that. Okay. So then here we need to create one directory, need to install AWS CLI, AWS configure, then like main.tf. Okay, so what is this meaning? So this is the provider block. So we are informing to the Terraform like which provider we need to use. So which provider we need to use. So here we have HashiCorp AWS we are using. Okay, so then that source is HashiCorp AWS means in the HashiCorp registry, we have the AWS provider. And I have a doubt, provider has been developed with which language? So provider has been developed by which language?
Go language.
Go language. Okay, who developed that? AWS has developed or Terraform has developed that?
Terraform.
Terraform has developed all the providers. Okay, so what is the meaning of your understanding of provider? The provider is having the drivers or plugins, how like Terraform can communicate with that like a cloud or maybe any of that provider, and is going to provision the resources. So in the provider, they are going to give the templates for all that resources, data sources we have. What is the data source also we'll discuss. And here in this, we are using that AWS provider. We are using in that we are using that AWS provider. And what is that meaning of region? So in that region, those resources are getting created. Profile, even if you don't give the profile also, it is going to use. If you don't give the profile also, it is going to use default profile only. It is going to use. It is going to use the default profile itself is going to use. Okay, so then here we have the data source. I'll explain data source, but the data and resources itself has been specified in the provider. Based on these details, like we are giving this in the form of HCL that would be used by the provider, and the provider will communicate with the AWS SDK, and those resources are getting created. For this authentication, we are using username, password, or access key or secret key. Which one we are using? We are using not username password. We are using
Access
access
key.
key and secret key. We are using with that. We are going to authenticate and that's going to communicate with that. It's going to communicate say with that. Okay. So then like we need to do the Terraform init plan apply. We are going to pass it. Okay. So these all the steps. So we'll take one instance. On top of that, we are going to perform. So here we are going to do the AWS console. So I'll take one EC2 instance. So we can install Terraform either on the Windows, Linux, or even Mac also. So I'm taking here Ubuntu. So this time I'm directly creating PPK file. That file I have downloaded. Remaining all default options. Don't use 8 GB because that providers, all those need to download, right? That's the reason minimum give 15 GB of the space. So we need to install Terraform. On that, we need to download the providers. So this is the public IP. Okay, Ubuntu. So what I'll do is like we'll install Terraform on top of this. So today everyone need to perform all these steps. Then we need to install AWS CLI also. So we'll go for Terraform AWS tutorial.
Apa?
Okay, so then I'm installing AWS CLI. This is our we have in the my Terraform directory, and I'll check the directories. We have only some hidden files. Then in this, I'm going to create that configuration also. But before that, we need to configure our AWS CLI also. I need to configure here. For that, I need to get the credentials also. Security credentials. At any point of time, we can create two set of keys, but here already two keys are there. One key I'm going to deactivate, then I'm going to delete that key. Because at any point of time, we can maintain only two versions, two set of keys only. I've deleted that. So maybe not only for CLI, we are using for the third-party service because Terraform is a third-party service. For that, I'm going to use that credentials. So now here we have this access key. To configure that access key and the secret key, what is the command we need to do? What is the command? So we need to type AWS configure. Then I need to enter that access key. Then the secret key. US used to I have given output format. I'll give in the form of JSON. Okay. Then I'm going to create this main.tf. So here we have already AWS creation, install Terraform. We need to install the Terraform also. So for Linux, I'm choosing Ubuntu.
Bapak mau panggil.
So it depends upon the flavor. Select that. Then it's getting installed Terraform. Okay, and the command line tool is Terraform is the command line tool. Just go through all these commands. So we have the Terraform init, validate, plan, apply, destroy. Most of them are the lifecycle related. Console, format, force hyper unlock, get, graph, import, login. Okay, so these are all the different commands we have. Okay, so then like here I'm going to do the Terraform init, but we don't have any main.tf file or any configuration file. That is the reason it can't do anything. There are no configuration files. Then I'm going to create one file called as main.tf. Okay, so once I configure the Terraform, okay, we are using AWS provider. If you are using Azure, Azure RM is a provider. I created one directory. Then here I'm going to keep. Like here, they're creating one file called terraform.tf file. Okay, I'm saving this file. Okay, so in this we have like a Terraform is that provider. Then I'm going to create all the configuration files in main.tf file.
Explain, copy kariyo. Kami through the.
I'm going to create that terraform.tf file also. So here if you see, here we have main.tf, terraform.tf we have. Okay, then I'm going to do Terraform initialization. Now Terraform initializing the backend, but as of now we have only local backend itself. Okay, so now the Terraform has been finding the HashiCorp versions. We given 5.92. From that is going to download 5.10, which is matching. So this like that symbol also we'll discuss. Okay, then Terraform log file also is created. Now try to understand here. Main.tf, terraform.tf we have. Then if I go for the hidden files, one is .terraform. In the .terraform directory, like our provider has been downloaded from the Terraform registry. it's downloaded. And .terraform.log.html consists of, like it's a log file kind of thing. Which version it need to use is going to be specified with that. Which version of Terraform it need to use, it need to specify. Then I'm going to do Terraform validate. So validate syntax is going to check it. Yeah, so success. And even we can use format also. So format also is then Terraform plan. So with the Terraform plan, those actual resources are getting created with us. Okay, so now here what is this meaning of 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy is, in our main.tf we have only one EC2 instance resource is getting provisioned, that resource is getting added, nothing to change, nothing to destroy. Okay, so but here plan is not getting created, that even if you see ls-al, nothing came, that we don't have any. Then Terraform apply I'm going to perform. So Terraform apply is going to provision that resource. The Terraform apply is getting created, that resource is getting created. So now here before apply it's mandatory we need to give yes. If we don't want to give this option, then we can use Terraform apply hyphen auto hyphen approve we can use. Auto hyphen okay. So then here in this in the main.tf we are using t2.micro, right? Which region that is? US West 2. Okay, with that account maybe not having the permissions. I'll change this one to t3.micro. I'll change. Yes, I need to give there. Yeah. That t2.micro in that region may be not eligible. That's the reason we got the issue. Now that resource has been added. Now, if I go and check files here, one more file would be created that is called as terraform.tf state. And if that state goes to any of the changes, those details are going to stored in the backup file. Those changes are going to store in the backup file. Those are getting created. Okay, so these all the resources are getting created. Any doubts? Okay, so now Terraform show will show us whatever the resources have been created. It just reads that state file and displays all those details for us. It's going to display all those details and that resource having lot of configuration details, that mapping of that, what are the actual resource and that actual resource we have in the configuration file. the state file is going to store those details. State file is going to store those details. Then like Terraform destroy will destroy that resource. Terraform destroy. Okay, so here 0 to add, 0 to change, 1 to destroy. Whatever the resource has been created from the Terraform configuration file, that resource is getting destroyed. Here only S is allowed. Okay, so now that resource is getting destroyed now. So now one resource has been destroyed. Okay, so now there is no resource has been there to show. Okay, now I have a doubt. If I do Terraform apply, what is going to happen again? If I do the Terraform apply, what is going to happen again? That in the state file, that resource is not existing, right? Then again, that resource is getting created. But again, it will create a new resource. But from the Terraform wise, the same name it is going to keep. Okay, now one resource has been added, 0 change, 0. So now that details it is showing us, and even if I go to that region, I think we given Oregon West to 2. So that learn Terraform is the tag that instance got created. Still it is initializing. Then if I do again Terraform, so what is this auto approve is? It won't prompt us again yes or yes. that resource is getting destroyed. So all these details are getting stored in the state file. And as of now, we have local state file, but in the production, it's recommended to go for a remote backend. So in our AWS environment, we are using AWS S3 as our remote backend. So that resource got destroyed. So now here, if you go and check in the instance wise also, so that instance got terminated. So write down all the Terraform commands. These all the commands, check once. And what is the version currently we are using is, so we are using 1.13.4. So Terraform we are using 1.13.4, and that provider has been downloaded to which directory?
Mhm.
.terraform. .terraform is the directory we have. Okay, so like this, all these resources we need to keep in our main.tf, and with a single command like Terraform apply, once we do it, then all the resources are getting created. All the resources are getting created with that. Okay. Any doubts on this? So till this, everyone need to do the lab for tomorrow session. Then only we'll understand other things. Okay. So till this, everyone finish the lab today. Okay. Any doubts?